This little video is on how to check the vehicle fluids. So the first one we'll check is the most basic one, engine oil. So you make sure when you check the engine oil, the vehicle is on level ground and the engine is off. And it's best to check it if the engine's cool, so most of the oil will have sank down into the bottom of the engine to the oil pan. So you get an accurate reading when you check the dipstick. So you pull out the dipstick. You don't even look at the end of it. You're just going to wipe it off. So it's kind of hard to do with the camera. I know the yeah, there we go. Looking all over. There we go. Okay. So I wiped it off. I'm going to put it back in. Feed it in so it doesn't bend it. And when you bring it back out, you want to hold it horizontal so you can see accurately. So don't hold it vertical, hold it horizontal. And there's an add line and a full line. I know you really can't see it on there, but there's an add line and a full line, and you make sure that the oil is between the add line and the full line that's imprinted on the dipstick. It's better if it's right on the full line. If you have to add some oil, then you would add it through this, take off the cap here, the oil fill cap, which is on the valve cover, and you put a funnel in here and you pour your oil in. Now, you got to put the proper viscosity of oil, and viscosity means the weight. So this oil is 5W30, and when I say viscosity, it's the thickness. So here's two oils. So watch what happens when I turn them over. Number 9 is much thicker. See how much slower it was to come back? So number 1 is a lower viscosity. Number 9 is a higher viscosity, meaning it's thicker. Okay? So, some of the other fluids we check here. Brake fluid, it's in what's called the master cylinder. This is it under here. Brake fluid is either .3 or .4. The dot number indicates the boiling point. 4 has a higher boiling point than 3, so you have to go by what's written on the cap. So to check it, you might have to put a light down here and see where the shadow falls. As long as it's between the minimum and the maximum, that's good. All right, there's also power steering. So different vehicles have a different way of checking this, but basically most of the time it's a dipstick that you take out, and you got to make sure it's between the add and the full line on the dipstick. Make sure it goes back in all the way. And power steering fluid is just called that, so you can buy that at Canadian Tire or another auto parts store. You check the washer fluid, make sure it's full. Now when it comes to washer fluid, it's usually like pink or blue. It's the winter washer fluid has special chemicals in it, so it will not freeze in the winter. So don't use summer washer fluid in the winter or it will freeze and do some damage. Then we have the coolant, which is in the radiator, so radiator coolant. And this is the radiator. Never take this cap off when the engine is hot, because hot coolant will come out and burn you. So follow the little hose, follow it, and it goes to this jug, and it says right on it, radiator coolant. You just make sure it's between the add and the full line on the side of the jug. If you need to add some, coolant is normally green or orange in color, and make sure you put the proper type in, so check the owner's manual. All right, so you want to put the proper type of coolant in. And then we also have the transmission fluid. So it is also a dipstick, as long as it's an automatic transmission. If it is a manual transmission, there will not be a dipstick. So if it's an automatic, to check this, well, here's the dipstick. I'm just going to show it to you first there. But to check the automatic transmission fluid, you have to start the engine. So the engine's got to be running, it's got to be warmed up, and then you would just do like you did with the oil dipstick. You would take it out, you'd wipe it off, okay, wipe it right off, then you would put it back in, all right, all the way, take it back out, hold it horizontal, and make sure it's between the add and the full line. In this case, it's a little hole at the bottom which indicates add, and a little hole at the top which indicates full, and you just make sure it's between that amount. And it's got to be running though when you check that, so be very careful of the moving belts or the spinning fans or the heat off the exhaust manifold. And automatic transmission fluid is red. It's a red color. Okay. The engine oil is normally a nice clear translucent color like this, and when it gets old and full of water, moisture, dirt, then it goes very dark, almost black. Okay, so new, used. All right, so those are some of the fluids. And did we miss any here? I think we got all the ones you need to worry about. So washer fluid, the coolant, engine oil, power steering, the brake fluid. We don't worry about the battery. Most batteries are sealed, so we're not going to worry about checking the electrolyte level, which is a mixture of water and sulfuric acid. That's what's in a battery, but I don't want you checking that, okay? And of course, never take off the rad cap when the engine's hot, or you could be burned by hot coolant. So that's it. Those are the major fluids you check underneath the hood.